this is the first look of the 4 looks of the bridal series, and the look I'm going to do today is the rose gold, sort of more of a natural rose gold one. So we're not going to do the cut crease one today, I'm going to do the soft one. So if you guys want to see how I got the look, then just keep watching. For brows, I'm going to be using my She Glam brow pencil, and this is in, what shade is it? I think this is just in dark brown. So what I tend to do is I always brush my brows up, just so I can pretty much fix them into place before I start filling, because I always find when you start brushing your brows, you can kind of see what gaps need to be filled instead of just going straight in with the brow pencil. So then what I tend to do is I start from underneath the brow, starting from the inner corner, just brushing outwards, start bringing it down to the towel just to sharpen it. And then what I tend to do is I kind of just start feathering, doing soft strokes through the brows just to build up more colour and have them a little bit more thicker. And as well, if you make a mistake with your brows, it doesn't matter because you can always clean it up with concealer. So then once I've filled in my brow, I just brush any of the remaining product through just to even it all out. And that is pretty much one brow done. I'm going to do this brow off camera just to save a little bit of time, and then we'll go straight onto the eye. What's done is I've also put some tape underneath my eye just so I can get a bit more of a sharp defined edge. So I'm going to be taking my MAC Giffy Sun bronzer and just buffing that into the crease. Circular motion. So this is going to be like the transition shade to just bring every single colour together. Just doing a soft, like, swirly motion. But once that transition shade is done, I'm going to be taking my new Dior palette. This is actually, they brought out a few new shades, I think this past week actually. And this is the Rose Tully one, and this is a like stunning rose gold palette. So let me just take the insert out. So this is what the palette looks like. So I'm going to be going in with this colour next, and we're going to be using the shimmer shades on top. Using the same brush. What I always find is I tend to always use the same brush for the smoky sort of effect, because I feel like you never can get that much of a harsh look if you're using the same brush, because it kind of just blends all the colours together, but even though you can see a bit of a transition. So with this shade, I'm just going to start smoking out the outer corner. So this shade is kind of like a pinky, maroony, brown, yeah, like a maroon basically. Maroon shade for the eyes. And it's like a metallic-y sort of base. So I'm just going to start smoking the other side out. Then going back in with the concealer and putting it on the flat brush again. So what I'm going to start doing is packing the concealer on the inner part of the eyelid, just so when we put the shimmer on as well, it can just grip a lot more. So I'm literally, it doesn't need to be neat, I'm literally just piling that on and bringing it over the darker shade as well, because we will darken that up, just so then we can get a nice little angle. Again, you don't need much concealer, it's just to make it tacky for the shimmer. I'm just making sure that's pushed in nicely before we start blending again. I go back in with my fluffy brush, I'm not adding any more product, and just start slowly buffing out any harsh edges. So we want it to just go on nice and blended. We don't want any harsh lines. corners on for the minute until we've applied the glitter. Then we'll go in with that same darker shade again and pack on the outer corner just to make it a little bit more smoky. So you're still going for like a natural base, but not too natural, so it looks quite nice and smoky. So going in with this rose gold shade next, I'm going to be applying that on a flat brush. I'm just going to start pushing it on to where we have the concealer. So that is the first shimmer shade done. I'm then going to go in with the other shimmer shade. Like you say shimmer so many times. So this is the other shimmer shade. So I'm going to apply this with my ring finger and just warm up the product to then obviously put on my eyelid. So what I'm going to do with this colour is I'm literally just going to apply it in the centre. So I'm just literally going to swipe, just so you can see a bit of a shimmer just in the middle of the eye and not all over. And again on the other side. Instead of me darkening it up, I don't think I'm going to darken it up. I'm going to leave that for the cut crease one, I think. I'm just going to start buffing out any harsh edges that I can see. In with the Maybelline Tattoo Liner, and this is in the brown shade. I don't think it's actually got, I think it's just brown. So it's just literally the brown liner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start smoking out my top line a little bit, just doing a thin line. You can always leave this step out if, I didn't realise my light was done. You can always leave this step out if needed, but I always tend to do this just to give it a bit more of a, like dimension. Words. Just bringing that onto the eyelid. It doesn't need to be neat, because what we're going to do is we're going to smoke it out with the other side. We're just literally just going to go over it slightly with a light hand if you don't want to drag it too much. Pretty much the liner done, and obviously when we remove the tape you'll see obviously the final look. So I've just already like primed and prepped my skin. The face cream I used was the Weleda Skin Food, and this is the ultra dry, no, very dry to rough skin. So I always apply this. I don't tend to use primer on myself, and it depends on the client as well. So obviously if you've got like really oily skin, then obviously I'll use more of a matte based primer. But normally I don't tend to use primers because I feel like otherwise you're like clogging the skin with too many products. So I always do find just face cream does work, but obviously everyone's different, everyone's skin type's different, so it might not work for you. But yeah, this is the best one. Foundation, I'm going to be taking the NARS Sheer Glow foundation, and this is in the shade Barcelona, and I'm going to be taking that on my Real Techniques brush. Normally I use a beauty blender, but it all really depends. I normally tend to use beauty blenders on clients. I sometimes use a brush, but it really, again, it really depends. And as well with skin, if you're having a fake like a spray tan or something like that, spray tan should be fine. If you fake tan yourself, as we all know, you can have a bit more of a orangey shade. I never ever tan my face. So I'll tan my body, but I'll never tan my face, only because if I'm sticking a warmer foundation over the top of the tan on my skin, it can go quite ashy. So you've just got to be quite careful within that sort of department. So always leave the tan off of your face, and then you can match to your neck and your chest that way, and it'll be a lot more easier as well for you because you can kind of see the colour match. I keep covering the camera and the light. I haven't done like tutorials like this for so long, so like I feel like I'm out of the mix. So just keep pushing it in. I always spend quite a lot of time on the skin, just to create that more flawless base, but not cakey base, just flawless. Because the thing is, I always find as well, you don't need a lot of foundation, it's just building the foundation up. Concealers, I'm going to be taking my Marc Jacobs concealer, and this is pretty much the same shade as my foundation. This is in the shade medium, and I tend to just bring it down and just put the lighter concealer in obviously the inner corner just to brighten. So I'm just going to start applying this. I'm going to apply it on a flat brush again. Checking that flat brush has not got any pink on it, and then I can just brush the concealer on. You don't need much of the same sort of shade concealer. It's just to even it out so there's not too much of a light to normal base colour. So I'm just going to apply it lightly underneath. On the bridge of the nose. Over this side. Gonna start using the lighter concealer, and this is obviously the Age Rewind one. This is in the shade 03, and I can't remember what the actual shade name was called, but it's in shade 03. I'm just going to apply that to my chin, top lip, down the bridge of my nose, my forehead, and then just under the eyes. And then I can start blending back in with my foundation brush and just start pushing the concealer into the skin. I tend to, whether I'm using a beauty blender or a foundation brush, I always go back in with either the beauty blender or the brush that we use for the foundation, just so it blends nicely together and you haven't got any harsh lines. Pushing that in under the eye. Being careful where the eyeshadow is. Obviously, I would normally use a smaller brush, but while obviously I'm working with this, I'm just going to keep working with it. To set the under eyes and the rest of the face, I'm going to be using the Givenchy Prism Lip. I'm not very good at that. This is in the shade Voulez Rose, I think that's how you say it. So I'm just going to shake it till it goes into the lid. It goes everywhere. And I'm just going to start picking that up with a sponge. And just patting off or tapping off any excess on the back of my hand, just so we can get a nice full coverage. So I'm just gonna avoid the light for one and just start pushing that into the skin. And again, I do a bit on the chin. And I tend to use loose powder anywhere I get oily. So obviously mainly like your T-zone area. So automatically you can see it's just picked up any oil straight away. The powder I'm going to use is the MAC Studio Fix. With the powder, this is actually supposed to be a Studio Fix powder plus foundation, but I never tend to use it as a foundation. I always use it as a powder brush, like a setting powder. I'm just going to put that literally where we didn't put any loose powder. And then what I tend to do at the end as well is just brush off the loose powder with this same brush. I always bring the powder down to the neck because that's what we do with foundation. And the same with the forehead. Pushing that in to the skin. With bronzers, I'm going to be using the same bronzer shade we used on the eyes, which is to give me some MAC. So I'm going to take my powder brush and start putting it just where the top of the ear. This is how I get like the best angle. It's normal I like the white ear. I don't tend to fake out my ears, which is quite bad. I tend to just go kind of down so you can kind of get that right angle. So I always start at the top by pushing it in to the skin. Because as soon as you start dragging, I always find it can take away the foundation if your foundation isn't set properly. So just creating a little bit of a warmth to the face. And the same with the other side. And I always start off light because you can build up if you want more bronzer or more blush or anything like that. So with blush, I'm going to be using the Prism Givenchy brush again. Blush, there we go. The blush again, and I'm going to be, this is, I don't know if it's this word, but it's the first one, so it's not the brightest pink. So what I tend to do again is shake it, and then with all the colours here, it looks very, very bright. I just mix them all together, tap off, because a little bit of this goes a long way. And then I'm just going to apply that just above where we applied the bronzer. What I like with this as well, when I put blush on myself, I always kind of like a half smile so I can pop my cheekbones a little bit. Brushing it upwards. So it blends really nicely as well, like it's not too hard. And the same with the other side. What I tend to do is when the blush and the bronzer are both done, I just sharpen out the bronzer with the setting powder again. So I'm going to be taking the Givenchy powder again. I'm going to take my Cocoa by Kylie Cosmetics. This is like a really, really old highlighter. I think they still sell the shade, but this is the pink shade. And I'm just going to take, I have to get another brush, take fluffy brush, pack that on, and then just start applying it onto that blush. And obviously I do go back in with my bronzer and blush brush. Buffing that in. And then what we'll do is same brush, just tap off any excess if I've got anything on. And just start brushing that powder. That is pretty much all the face base done. I'm going to start finishing the eyes. I'm going to zoom in. Like shade we use for the outer corner, we're going to use smaller brush. So going in with the lighter shade, I'm going to be taking that on that same smaller brush, packing that on, and I'm going to start putting that on in the inner corner so we can get a bit of a glow. Obviously you can always miss this step out. You can miss a lot of these steps out if you don't want to do them. But obviously these are the looks that are quite popular when I do a lot of bridal. Darker shade on this brush again. Start smoking out the bottom lash line. Pretty much literally all the eyeshadow done. You can add mascara, you don't have to add mascara. It really depends obviously on the person as well, because what I tend to do as well, I always smoke at the bottom, so then I will always show like the client, would you want me to add mascara, or would you prefer me to smoke at the bottom? 9 out of 10 people always want mascara, but again, if you don't tend to wear it, don't feel like you're forced to wear obviously the bottom mascara on your wedding day, because it is completely up to you. So I've just done my lips off of camera, and I used the Morphe Honeymoon lip liner with the MAC Honey Love lipstick. This is what the lipstick looks like. This is like the most popular lipstick shade I always use for bridals. I've gone through so many of these, and it's like the perfect pinky nude. So this is pretty much the final look. I hope you guys all enjoyed. The next look that will be up most likely will be the matte one, because I'm going to try and do this one, then the matte, then the pink cut crease, and then the bronze for the finale basically. Let me know if you need to know anything else, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video.